Today we're going to talk a little bit about mean reversion on the general market. We're going to talk about RIOT a bit and its big move yesterday and what we expect from today and going forward off of these amazing candles we've been seeing on the miners. We're also going to talk about the other miners. We're going to look a little bit at ARM. I'm going to bring another crypto to the channel that I think I've mentioned before. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but it's just another one. I'm going to bring it back to the channel as it's been doing some interesting stuff again lately. So first, let's start with Bitcoin. For the day, Bitcoin still is in this ascending channel. This channel is actually getting tighter, so I think I'm actually going to tighten it up and adjust it just a little bit to meet what I'm expecting here. Something like this. It's looking like this candle here from April 18th is kind of the guiding candle for this ascending channel here. So I'm going to go ahead and just tighten that up a little bit there. You can see this is getting very controlled right now. It isn't really doing a whole lot. I mean, it's still kind of drifting upwards, sort of just grinding up from here. We are above the 65,700 level right now, which is where that resistance kind of before was sitting right here at the tops of these candles on the 14th and the 15th of April. We're just sort of sitting on top of those right now. As long as we stay above that level, I do feel optimistic about coming back up to around $70,000 pretty easily here going forward on this. We might come back for a little tap on the daily RSI of like 50 and then move on up again. But right now, it's looking like Bitcoin kind of wants to continue to grind up. We might go sideways a little bit and create a bull flag right where we are right now, and then kind of push up to that $70,000 level. We may even peak out of this ascending channel. I've got it in right now a little bit before getting back up into this larger ascending channel here in the near future. But honestly, it's looking a little bit like right here, starting from April 12th till now, it's looking a little bit like somewhat of a mirrored move from this formation here from March 6th, kind of coming up and then curling back over and going all the way back, right, and making a bit of a inverted cup. Of course, that didn't end up being that formation, but you know it's looking similar in terms of how these candles are forming right now. So I would be expecting it to come back to about 70, maybe even peak up to like 71, 72 before making any larger moves back to the downside, you know, trying to test $60,000 again if it does at all. So right now I'm kind of leaning up on Bitcoin right now, the way that things are looking with the way the candles are forming, unless there's a break of this ascending channel and it comes back down to and gets below $63,000, which if you notice, it's the bottom of this candle here on April 19th and on April 16th. You can see those kind of like get really close to lining up with each other on the bottom of their candles there. That's what I'm looking at when I'm seeing this. It's also kind of the beginning of these tweezers that we had on the 17th and the 18th. So I would expect price to come back to around that level if we break this ascending channel before moving back up again on Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the broader market now. I've got the weekly chart up here. So each one of these candles represents 1 week. And the yellow line is, of course, the 20-day or 20-week, 20-week moving average. If you'll notice, we came down hard, collided with it, and then now we're bouncing. Now, this is where you get your average mean reversion, is at that 20-week moving average. The question is now, does price come back up to the 5-week moving average around 510 and then continue down to the 50? Similar to like what it did back here where it came down, came close to the 20-week, came back up to the 5-week, and then just crushed right through it down to the 50-week. But I do think that in the short term that we're likely to come up a bit, maybe to 506, 507 on the SPY before seeing any kind of turnaround on this right now. All right, let's take a look at RIOT. RIOT yesterday had an amazing day. Yesterday it was up 23.11%. If you were in RIOT yesterday, congratulations. This thing is taking off. We are on a crash course with the 50-day and 200-day moving averages. The 50-day at 1233 and the 200 at 1273. For the sake of my calls, I really needed to get up and above that 200-day moving average, and it looks like it might have the ability to do it. And you see we have that descending channel. We have that descending channel that kind of faked us out and then broke to the upside in an amazing fashion. So that's what we're looking at on RIOT. I am expecting it to likely do a little bit of a pause, pull back, maybe ride this orange dotted line here for a little while, ride that for a little while, let the 5-day SMA catch up. And once that 5-day catches up, I'd expect it to try to explode higher through that 200-day moving average, and that would be a very good day for me and anyone else holding RIOT. So that's pretty great there. RIOT's looking good. It's looking like it wants to flag here and then maybe flag for a day or two, and then later in the week bring down this RSI, bring up this 5-day moving average. And once those two things reset a little bit, I think we'll have the momentum to just blast right up and past this line I've had on my chart forever at $13.22. So that's what I'm looking for on Riot. It's looking like it wants to make that move. Let's take a look at Bitfarms. Talk about the tip of the spear here. Look at this thing. On April 16th, we made just an absolute V-shaped recovery here. This is just fantastic. Today, we are continuing to move up. We're up 2.44%. I should mention that Riot was up 3.11% today. But on Bitfarms, we're up 2.44%. We're at $2.10. The top of the move on this V is $2.18. Once we get there, I think we'll start seeing some more flag-like behavior before we move on to the next level, which is going to be up at about $2.50 on Bitfarms. Again, and this is movement without any news on the CEO. They've got their exahash up to 7 now. Get out of the way, Omen Gaming. We have earnings coming up for Q1 that should be pretty good for most of the miners, considering Bitcoin held up its price for such a long time, and there were some pretty good fee collections going on in Q1 as everyone was trying to stack. So I'd be looking for that 250 range here pretty soon. Let's turn on the drawings. Do I have a line at 250? I have one at 237. That was for the way down. So you know what? I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move it to 250 on the dot. That's my line in the sand now. I want to see it get above that. And once it gets above that, I'd be looking for it to go to the top of this ascending channel, which coincides with the top of this descending channel. And then I'd be looking for it to come for that $3 level here and get stuck in this cloud here right there. That's what I'm looking for on Bitfarms. You can see that on the TA, it came just right to the very bottom of this descending channel, bounced off of it, got this very tight ascending channel. We're now breaking out of that, which is pretty bullish. So, I mean, this could get pretty, I mean, we're not even oversold on the daily on the, overbought on the daily on the RSI yet. So we still have we still have room to move, and these things can get highly overbought and highly oversold. So this thing could easily move up to 225, 230 here in a day or two, and even still continue on a little bit before those momentum indicators start dragging it back down again. Let's take a look at Bit Digital, excuse me. It's up $1.37. We are now clearly above the megaphone thanks to yesterday's epic move of almost 11% on Bit Digital. We are getting to this zone right here. We haven't quite got to it. We stopped just short of it here, which starts at 225 up to 257. This is going to be a bit of an area of resistance. Let's turn on the volume profile and have a look-see. Yep. It needs to get above this little box here to get above the volume profile. And from there, it's open air all the way up to about $3.20 on Bit Digital. So that's what we're looking for on Bit Digital right now. I want to see it stay inside of the megaphone here where it currently is. It's starting to get outside of this descending channel. It might do something very similar to like Riot did, where it did that. Remember how Riot came, did the dip? It came, did this dip. I removed that channel. Okay, hold on. Let me draw that channel again. It came into this. It was in this channel, right? It did a dip out of it and then a rip on up out of it. That looks very familiar to what we're seeing on Bit Digital right now. If I stretch it out a little bit, you can see at that gap down, that tight channel, dip, and then rip your face off all the way up. I think this has room to rip through all of this volume right here pretty easily and get us back up to around that $3 level without too much effort. All we need to do is get that momentum to come in. Some kind of good news from Bit Digital. Is that going to be the earnings that is actually coming out on Thursday of this week? Keep that in mind. Thursday of this week, Bit Digital has its earnings. Is it going to absolutely rip up to $3 off of that earnings if it is good? I think that it could. I think it could do very similar moves to like what Riot's doing. It's actually making pretty much the exact same chart starting from April 1st on Bit Digital compared to Riot. So we get some good earnings. I could absolutely see this thing just tearing through this this resistance on the volume profile and then coming all the way up to around that near $3. I'm not saying it's going to hit $3 exactly, but I think it's going to make a shot for it. Let's take a look at CleanSpark. How is CleanSpark doing today? It is up at almost $20 again. That's pretty fantastic. I should have bought some more this morning instead of making a video. Dang. Oh well. We're up above $18. I do think that it will try to revisit $18 possibly before earnings on May 8th, unless Bit Digital has like wicked earnings. That'd be pretty cool. What about this one? They're also on May 8th. Yeah, unless we get some wicked earnings from some other miners ahead of time, I do think that we'll probably try to make a run back for that $18. You can see the 50, the 20, and the 5 are all congregating here just below $18. So I would expect the price to kind of come down, create a little bit of a flag or like a pennant sort of move, and then take off from there and bust out of this descending channel here on CleanSpark. And once it does that, I am expecting it to go make a run for the highs and potentially even make a run for the high 20s on this bad boy here. I don't know exactly where it's going to go, but I would be looking for around like that $27, $28 mark, maybe even make a run for $30 on Clean Spark. These things tend to outperform my wildest expectations, so I wouldn't be surprised if it did that. So we're looking for a little bit of a flag pattern right now. That's what I want to see. I want to see some kind of flag pattern take shape, not too aggressively, just kind of like slowly erode down a little bit towards $18, maybe get to like 18.20 or something, and then from there, see it just take off. I'm expecting that takeoff to be around earnings. Let's take a look at Marathon Digital. How is Marathon Digital doing today? It is looking a little bit like Bitfarms in terms of that looking a bit like a V shape here. It's a kind of an ugly V, but it is still looking like a V. We hit the 200-day moving average. We went just below, and then we took off from there. We are currently hanging out above the 20-day moving average here. We could make a run for the 50-day moving average before we hit like really strong resistance on this one. The RSI is not overbought yet. Volume has been on a growing pattern since April 17th. If we get a continuation of that growing volume, or if we even just match yesterday's volume, I would totally expect in the next few days to see this come and collide with the 50-day moving average up at 2163. Currently, support is going to be at $16 on Marathon Digital, and that resistance is going to be up at that. Well, first we'll hit a little bit at $20, which is that highly traded range that I've got on my drawings here. You can see that's right where that is. And then above that, the 50-day will be resistance at 2163. If we break through 2163, oh boy, we're going on up to like $25, $26 on ARA. That's what we're looking at there. Take a look at how IREN has done. Yesterday, it's breaking out of this ascending channel here. So this ascending channel broke to the upside. This is also looking very much like a V-shaped recovery. We hit the 50, just like I'm saying, I think we're going to do with Mara, and it paused at the 50. I think this is a roadmap for Marathon, much like RIOT was a roadmap for Bit Digital. We had a V-shaped recovery, nice impulsive day, hit the 50, and we paused. We'll flag here for a little bit while the momentum indicators and the volume reset, and we get the 5-day to catch up and get closer to the 20-day. And then once that happens, I think we can break this 50-day and make a move up towards like that $6, $7 level on IREN. Take a look at the warrants. Actually, yesterday I made a really good trade on the warrants. Let me turn off all this. So my warrants sold yesterday. They actually sold at the price they currently are right now. So I bought up about 1,000 of these bad boys down at 92 cents, sold them at $1.30. Now I'm waiting to see the next time it does this. So I'm looking for, my next move is probably I put in another order for 1,000 around 97 cents. This is a rinse and repeat move for me on CIFRW on the warrants. I'm looking for this to break down. It might get to 101, 102. If it does get to like 102 and start turning around, I think I'll adjust that buy order up to like 104 or something like that. But currently I've got it set at 97 cents to buy 1,000 shares of these things, and I completely expect to sell it again, maybe this time around the 140 or 150 mark. So yesterday I saw it take pause on like an hourly chart around 131, 132. So I said, you know what? I'm up hundreds of dollars on it in just a couple of days. I'll sell it, goodbye, and I'll wait for it to come back down and do it again. Rinse and repeat. Those repeatable trades are how you make the money on this space. So that's it for the warrants. I mean, take a look at these. I'm just watching, waiting. I want to see it come back down. I want to see it get around that $1 level again, and then I'll start looking at pulling the trigger on buying another 1,000 shares of this bad boy, because it likes to do these big impulsive moves and then do slow grinds back down to around the same level, which is this box here, around 90 cents. Though I do think as time goes on, as you can notice, there has been an ascending sort of trend to the bottom of this. So I would expect it to next time maybe hit 97, 98 cents on a bad downturn. And then from there, we'll launch up again on the warrants. So keep an eye out for that. Totally an opportunity there with the warrants. And of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Let's take a look at ARM. ARM actually broke this ascending channel to the upside, which is what we've said so many times before is not usually what happens, but it definitely happens on stocks like Nvidia and Tesla, and maybe ARM will prove to be one of those stocks as well, where ascending channels break to the upside and descending channels break to the downside. We'll see. We've got a bit of, not quite, you can't really call it that, but we've got our reversal candle here on the 30-minute chart here at 12:30 yesterday, Friday, April 19th. It bottomed out at $85. Now, it is showing some strength here. I did make a little bit of money on the move up of this ascending channel here. Now this is broken. That's it. That's broken. So I am watching this now because this 50 is going to represent on the 30. This 50 moving average on the 30-minute chart is going to represent some resistance at $99, at $100. That's where I want to see this thing. That's going to be the pivot point for me now, is at $100 level. In fact, I'm going to put a line on at $100. This is going to be pivot point. We're going to make this orange, so we know to be a little bit cautious there. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for it to hit this and maybe come back down to around $93, $94 before moving back up again. So I'm still watching this one. I want to get some longer dated cash secured puts on this thing. I want to start running the wheel strategy on this stock. And if you know what the wheel strategy is, congratulations, because that is a fantastic strategy. I love it. I've been running it on on a few different tickers, and I've been practicing with it, trying to get better at it. If you don't know what it is, basically you start off selling cash secured puts on a stock until you get assigned, at which point you will buy 100 shares at your strike price. And then from there, you start selling covered calls on those 100 shares until eventually they are called away from you. And then you start it over again with the cash secured puts, all the while just collecting premium and hopefully, selling for a profit when those calls do get called away eventually. That's what we'd be looking at there. Tesla, let's take a look at Tesla really quick. It capitulated hard yesterday. This is the 30-minute chart. So we can see yesterday we came down to a low of $138. We are up today almost 1.5% on Tesla. This could be, if we get a reversal here, this could be like an island reversal, but I'm not expecting it, to be honest. I'm expecting this, since this is an ascending channel, I'm expecting this to break to the downside. Let me just draw that on here. I am expecting this to break to the downside here sometime for earnings, and I am expecting, honestly, I'm expecting this thing to come to about 137, maybe even 135 around earnings, unless there's just something really fantastic that Elon's got up his sleeve for us on earnings. I am expecting it to come down there and bottom out around 135-ish, maybe even a little bit lower on Tesla. So that's just the update there on Tesla. The last thing is a crypto I wanted to bring. So this is crypto.com. Full disclaimer, I do own tens of thousands of these. My cost basis is at 11 cents. It is currently trading at 13 cents. And so it's a little bit higher than where I bought in. It is currently looking like it is in a larger descending channel on the daily chart. But as we know about descending channels like this one back here, when they break out, it breaks out big. What was that move on this bad boy? Let's take a look here. It was 100%. So if we did a 100% move from here, we'd be looking at almost a 30-cent pro here, Crowcoin, crypto.com. The reason I like crypto.com, honestly, it's got a lot of exposure. It's got the name. People that aren't really familiar with crypto and are just getting in for the first time this cycle might just type in crypto, find crypto.com and go there and start trading there. I think it's a simple platform. I do use the platform. It is a pretty simple platform to use and buy crypto on. I don't buy a lot of crypto on it because the fees are high, but I've dabbled with it, and that's where I keep my Crow, because you can get higher staking rewards there than with other platforms for your Crow. So I've got all my Crow there, and occasionally I buy a thing or two here that's not on Coinbase but is on crypto.com, just to dabble around with some of my crypto. If you're into the crypto space, this is one I've got on my radar. This is one that was in kind of an arms race with FTX. The difference being they ran a legitimate business and FTX did not. And I kind of knew that initially based on some of the interactions I saw with Sam Bankman-Fried and the CEO of Crypto.com, where they were like, there was a lot of fun being poked at Crypto.com for acting like a normal business when the downturn started happening, when exchanges like FTX were being excessively lavish still at that point. That was kind of the red flag for me, where I said, well, I think I'll park my coins that I'll buy. The coins that I'll buy will be the crypto.com ones, because they seem to be running it like an actual business and not a frat house. So that's why I initially got into crypto.com. I am looking for this descending channel to break to the upside at around 14 cents. And when it does, I will be looking for that another 100% plus move on this thing up to around a 30-cent mark, somewhere way up here. That's what I'm looking at there. I am also seeing on this chart a really, really kind of gross, but still very possible head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders. We got this back here from like May 2022. Let me get this. Is the shoulder. Then we got this giant flat head down here until November 2023, and then we're currently on the upswing of the other shoulder here, which is a bit of a mirrored move that was happening back in 2022. And if this mirror holds out, you see how this was a descending channel that broke to the downside. Sometimes that happens, but if we get that mirrored move, the next real point of big resistance, because we tapped the underside of this resistance point here back in May 2022, if the next point of big resistance above is 25 cents, a little bit, and then around 30 cents is where we start running into more like bear and bull flags on the left of this chart. So that's what I'm looking for right now on that. Of course, this is not financial advice, not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. This is just one that I am invested in, one that I do watch, and one that I track, one that is looking like it has that potential to do a breakout move once it gets above this 14-cent level here. It does have the potential to make at least a swift move to 20 cents, potentially even up to around 30 cents on that one. So that's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.